You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Hippo farts everything, farts even me. Thanks to BBB for that intro to the show. I don't know what BBB stands for. Bright Bobacina Billington. I have no idea. I also had no idea that hippos fart everything, and it makes me wonder if really hippos are the most powerful animal on the planet. Like, why aren't we just getting hippos to fart everything into existence instead of, having to build them or make them? Like, instead of doing homework, can you just get a hippo to fart homework? We need a new 12-story building. Okay, let's get the hippos. Fart. There it is. I'd like a double cheeseburger, please. Okay, get the hippo. Fart. Actually, that's quite disgusting. And having received so many stinky hippos from you all that you've sent into the podcast over the years, let me tell you, I wouldn't want to go anywhere near a cheeseburger farted by a hippo. Blech, that is horrible. Hello! Yes! Radio Nonsense is open for business yet again, and here I am, Tiernan, farted by a hippo, at the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast, suitable for all ages from... to... and everything in between. I hope you had a really nice break, even though usually breaking something isn't great, is it? I don't know why you call it a break. It's like you're meant to say before someone does a performance, good luck, break a leg, but really breaking a leg would be very unhelpful if you were doing a show. I mean, it'd make it a lot harder to sing or dance with a broken leg, and you'd probably forget all the words you're meant to say because you'd just be crying, my leg, the whole time. And then that would be a terrible show. Nobody in the audience would enjoy it. It's a really silly idea. Really, we should say, good luck, and whatever you do, don't break a leg or anything at all unless you do break dancing, and then you could break dance. Oh, it's really complicated. This podcast is now back, though. I have dusted Comedy Club for Kids HQ, and I dusted all the farting animals on the mantelpiece too, which was a really horrible job, as every time they farted, it just sort of blew more dust everywhere, and then you dust them, and they fart again, and then it blows. Anyway, it's not worth imagining it. So stop it. Stop imagining it right now. Just stop it. Stop thinking about it. It's not. Stop thinking about farting animals, farting dust everywhere. Stop it. It's horrible. But also, we have some new things for the podcast, which I'm going to tell you about in just 1 minute. Actually, maybe 4 minutes and 37 seconds, or maybe another time entirely. But firstly, though, thank you for your gazillions of emails and reviews and jokes. Had this email in that says, my name is Emma and my daughter is 8 years old and she loves your podcast and this is her joke. What did the cow say when his team won the competition? We're amusing. Yes, Emma, I love it. Although I can't work out if you're called Emma and you just won't tell us your daughter's name, or if you are the daughter and called Emma and 8 years old and it's your joke but you're pretending to be your own mum. Because, hey, who hasn't pretended to be their mum in order to send an email to a Comedy Club for Kids podcast, or maybe even get out of, sort of trouble at school? Like, oh, I'm afraid Tiernan can't do PE today because, I say so and I am my mum. I mean, no, wait, his mum. Oh, it's really confusing. Anyway, if that's what you're doing, Emma, then absolutely fair play to you. Brilliant impression of your mum in an email. If you are indeed Emma's mum or Emma who has a daughter, either way, look, your joke was amusing. Thank you for sending it in. And they've also sent in their annoying noise. You may remember way back from the summer special episode last year when Matt from the Listies asked if you could send in your ones. He did his brilliant annoying noises. And so Emma or Emma's daughter, or anyway, they've sent in their one. And I might not say this right as it's written down, so apologies if I've got the pronunciation wrong, but it goes, Hassa rassa or Maisa lassa boo! That is brilliant and annoying, but also, I think, quite powerful. And it feels like it might be part of like a hacker or some sort of chant to keep wizards away. I'm going to shout it around where I live and see what happens. Love this show, says BBB, who also sent in the intro. Thank you, BBB. What does it stand for? Bob, 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 Bob? Maybe Bonkers Brian Bulbnose? Who knows? But BBB sent in that intro, some farting hippos, really. I mean, I don't even know where they'll fit, BBB. And honestly, the last thing this place needs, after all those farting animals were locked in Comedy Club for Kids HQ over the break, is more farting hippos. I'd say when I walked into this HQ for the first time in a few weeks, it was like walking into a smog cloud, but one that smelled like 4,000 durian fruit had rotted and died and then exploded, and then some flies had been sick on them. Sorry. BBB's jokes are, hang on, I need to be two people to do this one. Nick, who's there? Who? Hoo. Are you an owl? Amazing. I love it. That is a great knock knock joke. Also, though, it makes me think it must be very confusing for owls if they have to knock on people's doors. If they're handing out leaflets, or they're like, maybe they just want to borrow some sugar. They're like, knock, knock, knock. It's me. And the who? It must take ages just to sort of knock around people's houses. That'd be so annoying. Poor owls. BBB also sent, how many people in a band does it take to change a light bulb? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, excellent. I love how that's a clever joke about how bands start songs. But also, I want to know if that means bands need 4 of them to change a light bulb, or if it needs 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 13 of them. And that's sort of too many, isn't it? Maybe they all sort of have to balance on each other to reach the light bulb. I don't know how it works. And BBB also says their fave soup is tomato soup with noodles and a cheese stick to put in, and goldfish and butter in my soup, also cream cheese on Ritz crackers. Now look, BBB, I was totally with you, right? I was totally with you until you said a goldfish. Why would you put a goldfish in your soup? Do goldfish like being in soup? Maybe they love it. Maybe it's sort of just like a fun day out for your pet, because like they're hanging around in water all the time, and then you get to put them in soup for a bit and they have a lovely swim around, but also have a tasty lunch while they do. Don't anyone listening to this put your goldfish in some soup. I don't think it's something you can do. And of course you might eat it, that is not nice. So thanks, BBB, for the jokes, and leave the goldfish alone. Stop putting them in soup. And then we had this joke from Bella, who is 11 now, apparently. I'm not sure if that's right now, sort of as I'm reading this, or when she sent the email. And then what happens in a minute? Does she stop being 11? Is she then suddenly 12, or maybe like 56 or something? I don't know. Anyway, she sent in, what animal loves singing Christmas songs? A la 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 llama. Superb! I love a Christmas gag in spring. It doesn't happen enough. More Christmas gags in the middle of spring when we're very far away from Christmas, please. Bella also asked on one email, why no Easter episode? And that is because if I'd recorded one, it would have just been me scoffing chocolate eggs into the microphone for like an hour, and it would have sounded like this. And that would have been disgusting for you. Also, shout out to an axolotl named Darren, who wrote a lovely 5-star review for the show with just the words, bah! Which, as you know, that is the noise axolotls make. They're quite small, but, and it's sort of, they don't make noise very often, but when they do, they tend to just go, bah! Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? I suppose that's sort of what scares predators away. They think, oh, there's a smiley little axolotl, and then they get closer. Bah! Terrifying. But thank you, Darren the axolotl. I love receiving all your emails, jokes and reviews. So, of course, if you do have anything to send in, and also, more importantly, any questions for the show, then do find your nearest gazumping whiffy ninny, grown up, to help you email us at podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. And hey, we do need questions again. Don't we, Linda? Linda? How many questions we have in the stack now, Linda? Linda? Weird. Maybe I forgot to tell her I was opening up the podcast again. Maybe I forgot to check she exists. Weirder. Anyway, the stack is now smaller, so we need your questions once again. And look, it's great if you've sent in a question before, but I'm especially looking for questions from you listeners who've never sent in anything before. This is your time. So get emailing if you have anything to ask at all, and I will find expert comedians to answer those questions for you. And now... the new things! New thing 1! You might have noticed on your screens of whatever device you listen to this on, we have a brand new podcast logo. I hope you like it. It's been designed by my friend John, who's brilliant, and it now is like brighter, and it has a farting cat on it, and a stinky hippo, and Linda, if you look closely and see all the things you can spot, and a big otter listening to radio nonsense. So I hope you like our brand new podcast logo. I am very excited about it. And that brings me to new thing 2! And this is the very important and really exciting one. We have, check this out, we have some Radio Nonsense t-shirts, which you can find at comedyclub4kids.store. Though please get your gazumping whiffy ninnies, grown-ups, to check it with you. There are 4 designs. There's 2 of the brand new podcast logo. There is one all about Linda and one of a stinky hippo that I promise it doesn't smell as bad as it looks. And all of them are in all sizes, except grown-up sizes, because they're not allowed any. Ha ha! Take that, you 100-year-olds, or I suppose some some 100-year-olds are quite small. They might be able to wear a big kid size. Anyway, they're in all sizes for all ages, apart from grown-up ages. And you can get them all around the world. Really, wherever you live in the world, you can order them. 2 of them get sent from the UK and 2 get sent from the US. So that may change shipping prices. I assume they get put on a ship, and some ships cost different amounts, because some, I guess, are just little rafts with one person has to oar them, and some are like a big ferry, and some are just like a whale that carries stuff under its arm, and you have to sort of buy them sandwiches. I don't really know how it works, but do make sure those grown-ups check all the things before they buy them for you, when they definitely buy them for you. So I hope you like our brand new Radio Nonsense t-shirts. I'm very excited that we have some, and it means that you can wear it proudly that you listen to this show and that you know all the answers to everything ever. If there's anything else from this show that you'd like to see on a t-shirt, then let me know, and maybe we can get that made too. But for now, go check out comedyclubforkids.store and go grab yourself a Radio Nonsense t-shirt. Woohoo! And next week, there's going to be another new thing as well. But for now, that is all of the new things except for this new importantest bit. Stupid Dog Sausage Challenge! Joining me on today's show is the amazing Joe Wells, aka Joe, who refuses to acknowledge snow. Joe Wells, collector of the nicest smells, and as he's known to the Hmong people, Tusquas Ua Zab Mov Nuxti. But of course, all of our listeners will know you, Joe, as the internationally acclaimed moon shouter, the record breaker for most pairs of shoes worn in one go, and most famously, the first person ever to discover the existence of baguettes. Joe, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. That was beautiful pronunciation on my Hmong name. Most people get that wrong.
Do they? I've been practicing it because it really, not many people have a Hmong name unless they are Hmong people, obviously. So, but you were honoured with that.
Yeah.
Which I believe translated means the whispering chef.
It does mean that. Yeah. I'm the nemesis of Gordon Ramsay.
Is that and does wow and so do you? Are you just sort of when you? I don't know how much you run kitchens, or are you just sort of do you go out to random people and just whisper recipes in their ear? What's your technique?
Well, I don't like to talk about it as much because it was a hard time for me. But I had so Gordon Ramsay has the show Gordon Shouts at the Chef, which you will have seen, where he goes to the restaurant and he shouts at the chef. I had the idea originally, but it was. I took a different tone with it, and I would just go in and I'd sort of whisper something a little bit mean under my breath, but the chef wouldn't hear it. But they'd serve me up something, and I'd go, "Oh, it's not very good. It's a bit watery, this soup." And but there would be no confrontation in it. It didn't really make very good television. But I just sort of under my breath go, "Oh, it said it was meant to be spicy, but it's not very spicy at all."
I think that was more like, because if somebody just shouts at you, it can be quite rude. Like a lot of our listeners will know, so they've probably had a grown-up shout at them at some point, like, "Oh, don't do that." And you just sort of think, well, you go away, I don't care. There's something you put up a front. Whereas when somebody whispers disappointment to you, that's really bad. You know, if somebody goes, that drawing doesn't look like a pig. You're like, oh no, I've done something terrible. You know, there's a harshness to it that you don't get with shouting. That
is the worst thing that your mum or dad can say to you, isn't it? Is I'm disappointed. Quietly,
yes.
I'm just very disappointed. That hits you really, really hard.
It is the worst. So I can imagine as a chef, if you're like, you know, working in the kitchen, you're trying to make recipes, and your chef comes up and whispers just something quite, you know, brutal, like that pastry's not very crisp. Like, oof, that's gonna really...
You didn't quite hear it. You heard not very, pastry's not very, but you didn't hear the end. You go, what was that? They go, oh no, nothing. It's not a big deal. And then you're questioning. Really, you can really get in their head with it.
This is why you've got legendary status, because I've not heard of someone do that before. And obviously, while it may be difficult on TV simply because of, I don't know how, like, they'd probably have to get one of those mics, the really furry sound mics. They'd have to sort of put it right up your nose to kind of hear the whispers. That might make
we borrowed them from Springwatch. So it would all be done with Springwatch microphones. So yeah, they turn the volume right up, and you could just hear me going, "There's only 2 prawns in this curry."
That's amazing. So that mic that they would have used for your whispering probably had been used for like ants' footsteps or for like
that. That is how quiet chef whisperer I am.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, well, I am honoured. I am honoured that you would come and do this podcast, and I would ask though. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming you're not going full whisper. I would ask that because this is an audio show that maybe don't go full whisper too often because our listeners might just worry that you're disappointed in them. And I mean, maybe you are. Are you? I don't know. I don't know if you know any of them.
Should I get my whispering out of the way? We'll have like a whisper amnesty, and I could just do my most whispery whisper. Okay.
Wow.
There you go. It's all out of my system.
That was amazing.
I don't know how good a recorder you have, so it may not even show up on the recording. But it was, pretty rude what I said.
I will say, if any listeners heard that and were able to hear that, please write in and let me know what you think. Joe whispered then, and I'd love to know because I can see your lips move. I'm not a lip reader, especially because you don't have anything written on your lips. Sometimes that helps with lip reading if you've got like a whole novel written. But so I couldn't tell. But that was well, that was pretty amazing. So, well, thank you for sparing time from your. I know you said you're not doing it so much anymore. I know you got a lot else on, but thank you for sparing time from your whispering to be here. And are you up to much else? Are you busy with now that you're not whispering so much?
No, just living my life. I've got a strange. Here's the thing I can talk to you about, I hope. I have a pain. I never know, because for the listeners who may not know that I'm, as well as a whisperer, I'm an autistic man. I don't always know. One of the things I have is I don't know where pain. I can't describe pains very well. So I've had a pain, which I think has come from. I'm trying to be more healthy at going to the gym, so I've had a pain like here. I don't know how do you describe pains?
It depends on where they're like. Sometimes you get a stabbing pain. Sometimes you get a dull pain. Sometimes
I don't know what any of these words mean.
Hurts.
What's the stab? So stabbing pain is how do you know what a stabbing pain is unless you've been stabbed?
This is a very good question because I haven't, thankfully, been stabbed despite my many years as a knight. I haven't been stabbed, and I was very good as a knight, but I haven't been stabbed. But I assume it's like a sort of sharp. It feels like it's sort of like you're being jabbed, like you're being poked or jabbed. That would be like a stabby pain, and then like a dull pain is when it's sort of like a throbbing pain that just kind of keeps hurting. I think, but also I think a lot of the times you just make up words so that other people will have sympathy for you because you're going, it hurts and I don't like it. I'd better describe this to you so you can be nice to me.
Is that what it is? That because I thought it was big. Like the received opinion is that autistic people can't talk about where their pains are. I find that difficult. Is it just that you lot are just making up pain words? And yeah, it's like a fubba pain. We all know what that is, right?
Yeah, well, it depends on what you say because I know where can you not know where the pain? You say where the pain is. So if you don't know where it's coming from on your body,
I know it's between my chin and my knees.
Right. Okay. That's
all I've got.
An area. Yeah. I would say that I definitely know where pain is more specifically, but I don't necessarily know how to describe it other than ow. Like I think if I was more honest with doctors or whatever, I'd just go in and go, ow, make it stop. It really hurts. I don't like it. That's
what I should do. I should arrange an appointment, go in and go, ow, at my doctor.
Well, also because they'll say, where does it hurt? And you'll be like, you're the doctor. You work it out. Like, they should know.
She's trained for at least 6 years to be a doctor. She should know exactly what's wrong with me. I shouldn't have to... If telling your doctor where you hurt, I think is cheating.
Yeah, well, I always remember that. Do you remember that a lot of listeners will not remember this because they are children, and this is from the ancient past when games used to come in cardboard boxes instead of on screens. But there was a game called Operation, and you used to have to use a pair of tweezers to. Well, it was a bit gruesome, really. You just pulled bits of their body out, which now I think about it is quite. I don't think that would really help if you just removed someone's like leg bone with some tweezers.
Do you think that's what it is? Do you think I've got an apple inside me?
Well, that's what I was going to say is what you need to check is this game, when they removed the right bit, the nose would buzz red. So maybe the doctor needs to prod you or just take bits off you until your nose buzzes red and goes, and then they'll know which bit hurts.
Cool. I'll do that. I'll go to the GP, lie on the bed, give him some tweezers, get them to poke me, and then when my nose lights up red, I know that's where it hurts.
Yes, I think that's a really good idea. And I should also because again, the listeners to this podcast are young and they don't get aches from going to the gym or exercising because they have boundless energy, which is something that that I've really realised. So I often tell my daughter, like, don't jump off that, don't do that. And I've realised it's because if I did it, I'd have to sit down for a week because my knees would give in. Whereas she can jump off that because she's 4 and it doesn't matter. And she just she's full of energy. Whereas I'm like, oh, don't do it. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, that would really hurt my back. And
do you know what? When I was about 11, I did a roly-poly, and I can you could just picture something from your past so well. I did a roly-poly in the foyer of a swimming pool, and it really hurt. I hadn't done a roly-poly, but it really hurt doing a roly-poly, and I thought, I'm a man now. This is the day I become a man, because roly-polies hurt.
That's an amazing... I like that as an indication as well, because, there are lots of parts of the world where they say it's a certain age that you become a grown-up. So in the UK, it's like 18, or there are other parts of the world where maybe there's a ceremony or something that says you're an adult now. But I think perhaps the universal method should be when you do a roly-poly and it really hurts, you think, oh, no, I've grown up. This is terrible.
Yeah. That would be it'd be a mixed feeling, wouldn't it? If there was a big ceremony where you had to do the roly-poly and it hurt, but also you knew you'd become a man.
Well, I really like the idea of lots of people gathered round and there'd be sort of a table of cakes and snacks, and maybe you'd have to have like a red carpet or a really fancy carpet that you rolled down, and then at the end everyone cheers. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. We'll start that.
It would be. The only downside would be if you're a professional gymnast who can roly-poly with ease, then you don't get to be a grown-up for ages.
Never grow up. Peter Pan.
No. And that would just prove you're grown-ups wrong if they're like, being a gymnast isn't a proper job. You're not, it's just a kid's job. And then you'd be like, oh, it is, because I've not grown up yet, even though I'm 56.
You're never allowed to vote. You're never allowed to drive a car.
Wow. Yeah. That'd be pretty awful, actually. But I mean, other than gymnasts, I think it's a really solid plan. We should bring
it makes complete sense.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your pain from somewhere, Joan. I hope you're not. Hope during this podcast you don't just have random pain wherever it is. But if you do, feel free to whisper.
Jim. My gym person told me it was Jim, so I'll be fine.
Yes,
Jim is spelled GYM.
Oh right, that it's not someone called Jim that's just sort of been hitting you.
No, GYM. Jim's
good.
off the hook, yeah.
Yeah, that's good, because we wouldn't want, again, people to think that you were unfairly sort of, accusing Jim of just causing you pain.
We could get sued, yeah. No, it's GYM.
Yeah, I'm really pleased you made that distinction. Not enough people make that distinction when talking about the gym. I really hurt myself at the gym, I think it's really important that you did that. So thank you very much. And it is also a thing that again, that weird thing of to be when you're old. So many of listeners have turned off already by now. Old, go away. When you're old, to be healthy, you have to put yourself through really it just really hurts being healthy. It's not very nice.
I have to do running. I'm not running from anything. No. I'm just running for fun. Yeah. I'm not running towards or from anything. I go on a special machine so that I can run and go nowhere. Yeah. To stay still running.
Which is really unhelpful. That won't help you in any situation in life to just run and go nowhere. Like, it's not like I did a running app that was it's called Couch to 5K, but then you sort of realize how nice being on the couch bit was, but during it, it's like you have to run for 3 minutes and then walk for a minute. And I always think if I was being chased, that wouldn't help me very much. If I was like, run, okay, you just give me a minute, you just wait there, monster, and I'll just walk this bit, and then we can run again, and then okay, now you've got to walk again. Like nothing would chase you and then just give you little breathers.
I had that app, and I don't know whether it was the same for you. Who did you have as your voiceover?
I had, is it Michael Johnson, the American athlete?
So I had famous and brilliant comedian Sarah Millican, who I think is wonderful and I love. I think she's one of my favourite comedians. But because she was the voice on my running app, I don't like her anymore. and I'm worried that we're going to work together at some point, and all my anger will come out, and I'll shout at her and go, "I don't want to run anymore. I don't like it."
Yeah, well, this is exactly why I didn't choose her, and I think she talks about it in her own show now that she used herself for that app, and she found herself shouting at herself, and it caused all sorts of confusing feelings. So, yeah, these are the difficult things that happen if you voice a running app. A lot of people will love and hate you at exactly the same time. That is tricky. Wow. Well, look, again, thanks for being on the show. Thank you for having time to do this in between your running to absolutely nowhere. This is an audio show. I'm not sure if you're aware, Joe. This is an audio podcast for people to listen with their ears. Sometimes, we don't discriminate if they want to listen to it with their knees or their bum. That is also fine. Generally, ears they go for.
So we've dressed up in these costumes for nothing.
Yeah, well, you say that, but I've been really enjoying. It's much more fun that you're sort of dressed as a big banana. I assume that it is a giant banana, isn't it? That you're.
Yes, it is.
It a canoe?
Banana,
it might be a canoe, I suppose. Yeah, it's banana. That's what I thought. Yeah, but I think it looks great. The yellow is really bright, and it's sort of cheering me up. So I'm pleased that you did it. But yeah, no one will ever know. I certainly won't tell them. So.
No, and your teddy bear costume is adorable. I think it's lovely.
Thanks. I wear this just for comfort, to be honest. It is good. But I have to remember not to answer the door in it, or you get sort of mobbed by sort of children, or or even worse,
come in and eat your porridge.
You're a real bear. Yeah, exactly. So it can be quite awkward. But this is because this is an audio podcast, and sadly our costumes cannot be seen. I just wondered if you had a favourite noise that you could either tell us about or even make for us.
I do. It's the noise of the British pigeon, but it's a specific part of the noise. So the pigeon goes hoo 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 hoo, and I don't know if this counts as a noise, but I like the little pause between hoo hoo and hoo hoo. That's my favourite noise because sometimes it goes on for a long time, but it's coming, so you'll hear hoo hoo. Hoo hoo. I like that pause. I've sometimes had it go on for 30 seconds, but I always know that there's going to be a hoo hoo.
That's lovely. Do you think it's thinking about the next bit? Do you think the pigeon's going, what's next? What's next? What's the...
It's forgotten its lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I should prompt them. If I hear a pigeon go hoo hoo, I should go, oh, it's hoo hoo. And they go, oh, thank you. Hoo hoo.
Thanks very much. Yeah, that's good. That is good. It's either, I wonder if it's like a Shakespearean kind of question, like hoo hoo, hoo hoo. Like maybe they're working out the intonation. How do they say the hoo hoo each time? Who are they asking hoo hoo about? And maybe who are they directing it to? Yeah.
I never thought about it like that. There's they have to get the intonation quite right, otherwise they might start a fight with another pigeon.
Yes, that's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, or Jim. Yeah, that's a good point. What can I ask? Is that because you said that specific as a British pigeon? Do you know if pigeons around the world have different pauses or different noises?
I don't know enough about animals. I haven't done my pigeon research. Are there pigeons in other countries? There must be. They can fly. They must go there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the one I know about is in Mauritius. They have a pink pigeon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that not a flamingo? Just a really small flamingo.
I like the idea that all birds are pigeons, just a different. So that's not a parrot, that's a green pigeon.
In the Antarctica, they've got black and white pigeons that swim underwater.
Yeah, that's it. There's those little yellow pigeons that are really small and chirp. And I think maybe they're all just pigeons. That's a good point. Yeah,
I've always thought of pigeons as being solely British, but they must go on holiday. They can fly for free, can't they? So I assume they go to other places. But I can't imagine if I watched like a nature documentary and it was sort of the Sahara Desert and there's all sort of incredible animals and David Attenborough's talking over it, and then a pigeon flew in. I'd feel like something was up.
It got very lost somewhere on its journey. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I'm sure there's pigeons. I'm sure I've seen pigeons in like TV shows or films about like America, particularly about like New York. I'm sure there's pigeons in New
Oh
York.
yeah, I think in America, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe in
but then maybe
America.
they import them. Maybe they but import them from the UK. Maybe they do orders of pigeons.
Yeah, possibly from Harrods.
Yeah,
They send them
yeah,
over. Yeah, yeah, that's quite possible.
yeah. There's been airmail. I guess they just sort of travel because pigeons were. But you also have that thing of pigeons used to be messengers, didn't they? They used to carry used to send people messages by pigeon. So maybe like people sent a message and then somebody just didn't write back. And then the pigeon that
Yeah.
got stuck
Oh,
there was like, oh, you didn't reply. So like, oh, well, I guess I live
you
here
see a
now.
pigeon in New York. It's just the Victorian's been left on red.
That's it. All those people that when you send a birthday card and they don't send a when your parents tell you should write a thank you card, that's because there are loads of pigeons that were meant to come back with a thank you card. And
Yeah, if you don't write your thank you letters, then Britain will lose all of its pigeons.
that's a great idea. Oh wow! Well, it's a lovely sound or sort of in between sound that you gave us. Thank you for that. I'm going to really listen to pigeons a lot more carefully now. I think I hadn't done that before. I generally
It's the
just go
anticipation. It's a
away.
very yeah. I love that silence.
Beautiful. It's wonderful. Thank you very much. And the other thing, of course, I have to ask you is that this is a family-friendly podcast. It's suitable for people of all ages, except sometimes 100-year-olds. Long story, won't go into it, but obviously 101 onwards, all fine. But because it's suitable for people of all ages, I just wanted to check if there are any rude words you definitely won't be saying.
Oh, I don't. Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say any. Sometimes when I do comedy club for kids, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Very aware of,
Sometimes I do a little public service announcement about bogies, and sometimes for educational purposes, I have to say rude words for bogies, but I wouldn't do that in this podcast. But sometimes I would say boogers so that Americans understood, or I'd say sneeze strings or snozzle globs or green tack or the upside down finger buffet or the sherbet double dips from just above the lips. So sometimes I'd use words like that, but I wouldn't use those words in
Thank
this
you.
podcast, obviously.
I really appreciate it, especially the sherbet double dips from above the lips. I mean, I think that is too awful to use on a podcast for children. I definitely wouldn't say it. I'm very pleased you wouldn't say it either.
No, I would never say that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. Well, the reason I've asked you here, obviously, is a pleasure having you here anyway. But the reason I've got you on this show is we've got a question that I feel like you're the person to ask. And I'm going to read this out to you before I'm going to go over it, right? Because the way this has been spelled, and this is from KDoc2 in the US.
I know K Dot 2.
Oh, you know KDoc. Oh, you know KDoc2.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you know
KDoc 2,
KDoc1
yeah,
as
yeah.
well, or just do you know the first? KDoc,
Yeah, I did. I never got on with K Doc. Let's not bring up the K Doc 1 beef with me. We've
Okay.
said our thing and
Sure.
we've settled our differences. So I don't want to talk about K Doc 1 if that's okay.
Sure. Sorry. I didn't know that was a sensitive subject. We'll just talk about KDoc2. I'm glad you know KDoc2. In which case you might be able to shine light on this, right? Because, I don't want to make fun if this is a misspelling, but I also suspect that this is a purposeful spelling. So I'll check it. So I'll read it as it's spelt and we can go over whether or not this is what was intended. But firstly, how? 3 question marks. So how? Big question. How dose soup eats soup? Now, my question there is, did they mean how does soup eat soup? Or are they very specifically, how dose soup eat soup? Because maybe soup comes in doses. There's a lot there. And I pose that to you, Joe. How dose soup eat soup?
Okay, let's take this. So if they meant how does soup eat soup, I mean, I can know the sound it would make as a soup ate a soup. It would be. Would it just sort of implode on itself? Just as you'd have a bowl of soup, and then that soup was hungry. If you don't look after and feed your soup, it can get hungry, and it would just sort of like shrink up into itself and go. And then there would be. Well, I guess there'd have to be something left to eat the soup, wouldn't there? There'd be one molecule of soup
that could never be eaten, so it's just always there forever.
Yeah. But how
Yeah.
dose soup? What would be a recommended dose of soup?
It's got to be a bowl, hasn't it? It's always a bowl of, like, you don't really, like, no one ever wants like a teaspoon of soup, do they? You can get a cup of soup, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. A bowl or a cup. Those are the main two doses, aren't they? The bowl,
Yeah.
a cup.
You don't get like a
soup.
shoe of soup.
Cauldron.
A
not a
cauldron of
shoe.
soup. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. You don't get a milliliter. A milliliter of soup would be rubbish. That'd be just rubbish, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, one. So some homeopathic soup.
Yeah.
But
or a
yeah,
ton,
you
a ton
would
of soup,
have
too much. Yeah.
too much. That is, if there's one thing people take from this, it's that you can have too high a dose of soup, and make sure you moderate your soup. Yeah, I think a cup or a bowl are the two doses.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's for a human. We're talking about for another soup.
That's a very good point, isn't it? Because I presume that soup. I mean, this is the whole thing that maybe we need to query, because why would soup want to eat soup when soup is soup? Because that's quite worrying. What situation does soup find itself in where it thinks the only thing I have to eat is other soup?
Well, I think soup is quite cruel, isn't it? I always think of soup as of all the starters, just quite an unkind starter.
Right.
I don't think garlic bread would eat its own kind. I don't think mozzarella sticks would eat its own kind. But a soup, there's something about soup that I think they'd want to eat other soup.
That's interesting that you say that. Is it this sort of, because I have a problem with soup in that I do like soup, but sometimes when presented with soup, I think, oh, it's soup. And then you eat it and go, oh, it's great soup. But sometimes when, as you say, especially like a starter, when there are other options like bread or mozzarella sticks or something that is a bit more hooray, you instantly think brilliant. If you're just like, oh, it's soup, is it? Oh, there's something a bit disappointing about.
Oh yeah, very low ranking in the starter league table. Although, have you had in the city of Edinburgh, there is a little cafe where you can get soup in a bowl, but the bowl is made of bread. So you drink the soup and then you just keep, and then you eat the whole thing.
What? And how does the bread keep the soup contained? How does the bread just crumble?
You have to drink it quite quickly.
Otherwise, soup eats bread, and then you end up in all
and then goes on to eat more soup. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So they've contained the bread around the soup. That's fascinating. I wonder if, I quite like the idea of more food being. You could just get rid of all plates and all bowls if you just had more food that contained other food. Can't we put everything in bread? No?
Sorry, I lost you there.
Oh, sorry. That's all right. I'll edit that out. I was just going to say that, if can't we, the idea of bread containing soup is amazing. Couldn't we get rid of all plates and bowls and all things like that if we just had food containing other food?
That's true. Because it's not. I mean, I suppose it's more environmentally friendly than paper cups and stuff like that. But it's still plates. I don't know if plates are recyclable. But if plates were made of bread, you could just eat your plate.
Yeah, that's really handy. I like it. And I sort of wonder within this question, if soup was to eat soup, then essentially you could get 2 bowls of soup by only having 1 bowl of soup, because your bowl of soup's already eaten another bowl of soup.
That's true. Then that soup could eat another soup. Like Russian dolls, where there's a little doll and then a bigger doll and a bigger doll.
Yeah.
You could have a gazpacho in the middle, and then a lobster bisque, and then tomato and what's it called, cream of tomato, and then just soups within soups. That'd be beautiful.
Yes, and I liked your choice of lobster bisque. It's very fancy soup in the middle, and then slightly let down by the soup side, the side. But the tomato and cream soup obviously got a very fancy taste to eat a lobster bisque. In that
I think you have
order.
the fancy one in the middle, don't you? And then it just gets more and more, and in the end, it's just some dirt soup.
It's just some water with a bit of gravel in it or something.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's that's fascinating. Would you eat a soup that had eaten a soup?
Yeah. And I'm vegetarian, so I don't
Right.
eat things that eat things generally.
Me too. Me too.
But I
Yeah.
think that the cruelty of a soup eating another soup, I would eat it out of revenge. I think that's such a cruel thing for a soup to do. I would go, well, I'm going to eat you now. See how you like it.
That's a good call. I like it. And I suppose there would be that issue of being a vegetarian, which I am too, of you wouldn't want to eat a soup that had eaten a non-vegetarian soup. Or would you? Because by the time that soup had eaten it, this is, I mean, this poses,
And you're stopping
I
it
didn't expect
eating
this.
other meat, aren't you? So you're actually helping. If you're a vegetarian because you because you don't want to eat animals, that soup is going around eating all sorts of animals. If you eat the soup, you're preventing unwanted animal suffering.
That's really good. That's really good. And I also don't feel guilty. My part of my vegetarianism is that I don't like the idea of eating anything with a face because it has a face. But soup never has a face, so I don't really care.
Very rarely, yeah. Yeah, unless you really rearrange the croutons, it doesn't know.
Yes, I would never do it, particularly for that. I'd then have to not eat it, and then it would be. It's the same with smiley potato shapes. They cause me a lot of issues.
No, I understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Wow, this has been a far deeper question than I expect. I didn't. I originally read this question, dose or indeed does soup eat soup, from K.2, and I thought, well, this is just a soup question, but it's almost an existential question.
I understand why the how was in capital letters now with the many question marks because how?
Yes, yes, and I mean, would you? Now that K.2's got this advice, I'm kind of hoping they're going to go into maybe manufacturing tins of soup within tins of soup, or something a bit, exciting. There must be a whole new world of soup out there that could be created.
Yeah, do we own it? So we must own some rights to that idea.
Probably not. No.
Oh, I thought that was gonna make
Yeah, I
us our
don't know.
millions.
Yeah. I mean, potentially it depends how nice K.2 is, but I don't know. There's every chance they copyrighted that. Maybe I've just realised I think it was sent to me by pigeon, and I don't think I signed it and returned it, which is why there's a pigeon that lives on our roof now.
Well, I'm glad that you're bringing pigeons back from America. Eventually, they will all be able to come home.
That's true. That's true. And that's what I'm doing. I've lost us the potential chance to make millions from soup within soup, but I've brought one pigeon back. So
That pigeon hasn't seen its family in years and years and years, and you've brought it home. So some good's come from this.
oh well, I really actually that's lovely. You've made me feel like a much better person. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. So thank you very much. Well, thank you for answering that question. I hope K.2 is happy with the answers, and no doubt, especially when they go on to make their millions. And have you got a exciting evening planned, or are you just sort of gonna lie around wondering where things hurt?
Wondering where things are. I may go to a restaurant and do some of my chef words, but I don't have the show anymore. The TV show was cancelled, but I still do like to go to a local restaurant and just this naan bread's really small. I still like to do that.
Wonderful. Well, I really hope you ruin some. I mean, we're talking on a Friday, so it's a big night for restaurants tonight.
Oh, they're
Really,
not going to be able to hear what I've said properly, but it'll get in their head, and they'll be very self-conscious about their naan breads. Yeah.
Well, you're doing important work, Joe, and I'm glad you're doing it. No one else was, and I'm pleased that you're out there doing this job that I think needed to be done. So thank you very much. It's good to speak to you.
Thank you.
My name always tells me to look out for the traffic.
Big thanks to Joe Wells for his amazing soup and indeed pigeon knowledge, and I hope K.2, not K.1, we've been through that you are happy with your answers. Don't forget that if you out there have questions that you need answering, jokes that you want to send in, or really anything at all that you want to tell me, then get your gazumping whiffy ninnies, grown-ups, to help you email us at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. And don't forget to check out our brand new, very exciting Radio Nonsense t-shirts at comedyclub4kids.store, which can get you wherever you are in the world, and probably space as well. If you live in space, if you're on the International Space Station just sort of floating around, they can get you there as well. Okay, they probably can't get you there, but you may as well try. You never know. I don't really know, maybe it says like shipping charges, so maybe that includes spaceships. I don't know. I don't understand these things, but do check them out. And of course, we also have tons of live shows which you can find at comedyclub4kids.co.uk, and I'm going to tell you more about them in coming weeks. Right. I think that is everything for this week. It's sort of hard to remember what you have to do when you've been off for a few weeks, isn't it? When you come back from a holiday. Let me go through the checklist. I've done the new things. I've mentioned those new things in the T-shirts. I've dusted all the farting animals. That was disgusting. Stop imagining it. I've read out all your jokes. We've done the importantest bit. That was the importantest bit. I've still not found Linda. Where is she? Who is she? I've watered Dennis the Venus flea trap. I've combed the chunky walrus that lives in the sink. I've counted all of the hats, and I still don't have any hats at all. When am I going to get some hats? What have I forgotten? Let me think. Oh yeah, that's it. This bit. Bye! You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.